So for replacing your failed door lock actuator, here is going to be the part number. By the way, this part number here, I'll put pictures for you. This is the part number for the one that has keyless entry, 313-49862. The other one won't work with keyless, so make sure you get the right one. I'm also going to put a bunch of screenshots in there for you that shows you the step-by-step direction on how to do this job. First thing you're going to want to do, obviously, is to remove those two T25s, and then also there's one on the edge here. You're going to remove this little tab and remove this T25 as well. What I like to use is a little ratcheting like this on the extension. And you're going to need that extension to get that handle bolt out as well. Once again, it's a Torx T25. Next, what you're going to want to do is take a pry tool and start at this end here, and you're going to pry like this. And once you get it to let go a little bit, you're going to just grab your fingers underneath and work your way along the bottom and the top. Now on here, very important at the top part, you see these clips. There's these metal clips right here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull up on the panel. Some people say you just pull towards you. It's not correct. You got to pull up because you're going to want to get these clips physically off of this little ledge. They're kind of wedged in this way. So you're going to want to, on these clips, pull up on the panel, and then that'll come off for you. And then this is the connector. In my case, it came off with the connector itself and this little rubber piece. So if that happens for you, just disconnect it. This rubber piece goes on top of this LED, and then this clips back in. And all this is for this little lock and unlock. So make sure you put this in before proceeding. Okay, so as you can see, that connector is back in, and then you got this connector here for the tweeter. Then you have this connector right here. This is going to be for your power window switch. And you got this connector here for your cable. This is the actual cable. All these three have to come apart, and then this panel comes off. Real quick, if this guy here comes off, there's a little door seal, so it goes like this. And if it comes off for you, just put these clips back in. You'll see little markings inside where they go. So they go just like this. The writing is upside down, as you can see, and it goes in this orientation. And then it slides back behind there, and then in here as well. As you could see, it'll actually clip in to place in 3 spots right here, and you just push and it'll actually clip back in. So sometimes the door panel comes off and this kind of like comes off with it, which is not a big deal. So you can actually just put it back where it should be, right? And then when you put the door panel on, you just push the door panel in and it'll clip. So you see, so that's why some people are saying pull the door panel towards you and some are not, because you could do, if you pull it up, you'll actually remove this piece. If you pull it towards you, you might actually just break these off. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to kind of do it by feel. So in the event that yours does come off, there's going to be actually these markings there from the factory where the metal connects to the metal. So you can see there's a mark there, a mark there. So just line them up and then put this seal in underneath this plastic trim piece, right? And then you're going to just press down on it all the way until it seats perfectly flat. This goes over, this goes on top of this when it's seated fully. And then over here, there is no seal at all. Here's that seal that came off, it's reinstalled back in. And then this piece goes in this little indentation, and there's a clip there, and there's a clip there. So all you do is you just press here and press there, and this will clip back in. I guess the best way to do it is over here, where you see this tab here. You're going to want to pull this up slightly, and then once you get this corner slightly up, then what I would do now, nobody says this, but I would pull this side towards me, and I would pull this up slightly. So basically you got to do up, but on this side you got to pull towards, because there's 3 tabs. So that's what I would do on that. Okay, so for this next step, this little flap, you're just going to open this flap, and then inside you see that little hole. So what you have to do is you have to roll this window down until it's 110 millimeters from the edge, or for US inches, it's going to be 4.3 inches. So right here, you have to measure 4.3 or 110 millimeters. And what I like to do is leave this connected, because you're going to want to be here on this side when you are, we're supposed to stay somehow, when you are putting the window down. So what you're going to do is put it down. You see right there? See that little piece? So on that piece, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to press down or press inward, and then that way you can measure here 4.33 inches, so it should be a little bit lower, and then that'll allow you to unclip that little, there's like a little tab there. I'll try to find it for you guys and show you. It's right there. Okay, so this is the best view that I can give you guys on it. Do you see, it's not a ball shape, do you see that right there? There's like a little plastic piece. You can see the glass, the cable, and that little yellow piece right there, that's the little kind of almost like a tab that slides in to one of the holes on that glass, which when you pull the glass up, it'll prevent you from pulling it up unless you press this tab in and then pull on the glass up. So do you see how I'm showing you? No other video can show you in detail this part. So you have to press here while simultaneously pulling up on the glass. Okay, so now that tab is pressed in, and then you take one hand and you pull the glass up. It's not heavy. And then what I like to use is these, like, it's a suction cup. It's actually for porcelain tile, but in this case, it doesn't matter. So I just put it on the lip, on the edge there. This is all rubber, and you just pump this up, and then that way the glass won't slide down. But I don't like to remove the glass on here. Sometimes you can, but I prefer not to. Okay, so at this point, what I like to do is just use an impact on a 7mm socket for all of these bolts. You can do it by hand, but it's just a little bit quicker if you do it by hand like this. And this is just what it looks like. So okay, just work your way around the perimeter. There you go. So just remove all of the screws next. And then we're going to be removing this entire panel as one assembly with a lock mechanism. So the next thing you're going to want to do is just take your any kind of preferred pick tool. We're going to have to remove that connector. So this connector, you take this blue piece, and it's going to actually, you're going to pry down, and it will come down a little bit, and then this whole connector will be able to be removed. The reason I like to do that is because otherwise, when you take this off, you're going to be pulling strain on the harness, and I don't want to disturb anything with the harness, so it's better to just remove it temporarily, and then clip it back on when you're done. Okay, so this connector is removed, and there's this 2 little tabs that you just press in and push that other side back in there. And then, so as you can see, that bottom tab comes out, and then it just like, you carefully push it out. Okay, so next we have 3 Torx T30s. So we got 1, 2, and 3. when you remove these, you can use an impact, but to tighten it, I like to use it, do it by hand, because if you over tighten these, you can actually crack the housing of the lock since it's all plastic inside. So just, or you could actually strip out the threads also. So don't use an impact on these. Try to do it by hand. Okay, so these 3 bolts are removed. Now, to clarify, I'm going to show you guys how to remove that handle, because there's a lot of wrong information out there. There's only one guy that does it correctly. So anyway, I'm going to clarify it for you. Torx T25 on a long extension goes into this hole. You can't really see inside of it, but you'll feel it. You'll feel it like grab. This is all, by the way, by hand. So what you do is you pull this handle back and you hold it. And then you're going to do about 5 turns. Pay attention to my screenshots at the end of this video. You can do 5 turns, and once you let it go and it doesn't drop back, like it should stay in this position. That is when you carefully take your pry tool and remove this assembly. After you remove this assembly, you'll be able to remove your handle. Since this is a keyless entry car, you will have a connector on the end over there. That connector also has to be clipped off. So also it's raining, which is epic, so I had to make a little roof for myself. So what I actually had to do was slightly drill this little access hole, because my extension would not go through it, and unfortunately I didn't want to go to the store and buy a specialty 225 screwdriver. I just want to show you real quick. Here's the way this works. You ready? So when you unscrew it this way, what you will notice, you see that little screw right there? So this, when you unscrew it like that, will allow you to remove this top portion. All this is just a little cover. And then what you do is, pay attention over there. You see that see those little teeth? There's one on top, one on the bottom. And when I screw this back in, look at that little tooth. Do you see how it moves away? So right now it moved out of the way, and you will be able to take this and remove it altogether. So I can't do this on camera, but I'll show you in a second. Okay, so this part now is completely removed. It just jumps over these teeth, and then this piece here is just a little clip right there, connector, and you undo this. In the keyless entry cars, you're going to have this connector, which is actually right there. So you're going to press here. You can use a little pick, press here, and then push out, and it'll come right out for you. By the way, it goes like this. So don't just like yank at it, because you're going to break it. There's like a little track inside of here. So it's going to be like, you're going to pull out and then in. You're going to want to put some grease on there, some silicone grease, when you put it back together, so that it works normally. All right, so here's another part that a lot of people skip over. They don't explain it well. So you got this panel here, right? Your window regulator. By the way, here's your actual little bracket that the window slides into right here. So just leave that the way it is. But then what a lot of people miss is this right here is actually where the handle connects, okay? So there's a screw that you have to remove from here, which sits right there. It's also a Torx T25, as I'll show you in a second. It's right there. So it's a Torx T25 and that little rubber gasket. Go ahead and remove that. And then you want to remove all this in one piece. So this right here, do you see how there's a little spring here, a little tension spring? So you see how there's little channels on this side and on this side. So what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to, when we're reinstalling all of this, you're going to want to clip this in to make sure it's clipped in, and then guide it in. Do you see what I'm saying? So you don't want to like have this be dangling by just a cable. because then it's going to be very difficult to install. So that's why you have to take your time on this, and because as you can see, look how thin this is. It's very thin plastic. Now pay attention. Do you see there's a tab here? Okay, and there's a little tab right there. So what you do is this tab actually, see this little tab here? This tab goes in right over this piece of sheet metal. Okay, so this is, and then don't forget that gasket. That gasket goes over this, and then these two little teeth right here. See these little teeth? They go over, one goes there and one goes there. So they're also like little, see how they're like little teeth here? So this is what actually holds this lock up against there, and over here. This right here, this little tooth holds it up against that right there, and this is where your T25 will be. So yeah, and the manual doesn't tell you, by the way. So I'm going to take this inside now because it's kind of drizzling. I'm going to close the door best as I can. Here's the door, here's the glass, still intact. I'm just going to close everything, go inside, and show you how to be replacing the actual regulator part. And by the way, I want to show you how this mechanism works. So the handle goes inside, and then when you pull it, there's spring tension right there. You see it? So as you're pulling this out on the other side, you're pulling it like this with the tension. So then you see this little metal silver clip. The reason that they want you to pull that handle out and then put the clip in is because you see these two teeth right here, one there, one there. You're supposed to see these little two teeth on the edge, one there, one there. So you're supposed to put it back like this, and then they want you to turn the bolt all the way so that you lock this in place, because otherwise you have no way of putting this back in. You see what I'm saying? Because it's gonna retract. You see it retracts like this, and then you have no way of putting that handle in. See what I mean? So you have to pull it out, and then the screw, you have to screw all the way in, and then that way that handle will lock in place. So this assembly here moves like forward and backwards, and you got a tooth there and a tooth there, which you have to lock in this one and this one to keep the spring tension outwards. So do you see over here how right now those two teeth are being held in by this little, it's almost like an aluminum clip. So now it'll allow you to separate the handle from the actual housing assembly. See what I'm saying? So you can just basically separate it easily, and then now it's ready for it to go back in, because that bolt is still all the way pushed forward. And when it's pushed forward, what it does is it pulls this whole aluminum piece this way, so that these two teeth are held in place. I know I'm being repetitive here, but I just want to show you guys, because nobody shows this kind of stuff. Everybody's gonna like, oh, do this, do that, you know, but nobody explains how it actually works, because unless you know how it actually works, you don't understand what the hell you're doing. By the way, here's your little wiring harness, and you see what I mean? You're gonna have to remove this anyway, because if you don't want to like have this be pulling, right? Because if it pulls, these are very old wires. They're from 2016, so you can snap one of these connectors. So you just press here and here, and then it'll come out of this hole right there. Okay, so now we're inside the house here, and the next step is find yourself a place to work and put it on some sort of pad so that you don't, so it's easier to maneuver. So first step is, there's gonna be a little clip that you'll have to press. So look, the lock orientation is this way, right? So right here, you're gonna have to push here and to pull up at the same time. Now on normal cars, there should be a Torx T25 in here. However, on mine, there's nothing there. So it just, see how there's a little notch right there? So there should be a Torque 225, a long one too, but it's not there. So I don't know if somebody just had an off day at the factory or what. So we're gonna remove this, and we're going to remove the cable and the connector, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so to remove this first cable from here, there's going to be this plastic tab. The first thing you're going to do is these teeth on the bottom. You're going to reach in there with a really thin flathead screwdriver, and you're going to go in like that, and then twist it slightly so that both of these teeth, one by one, will come undone from the bottom here. They sit right like that. So you're gonna want to, they sit like this, so you're gonna want to undo them, and then this clip comes off, and there's a little tab here. Don't break it, set it aside. And then the second part of this is going to be this second tab, and the second tab has a similar principle. There's a little tab there, you see it? So this little tab here, focus right there. So what you do is you again take your little, this is just a little flathead, any kind of pick would work, and you just pick right here. Move that light, maybe it's too much light. And then you're gonna push here, and then this whole thing will actually just slide right out. There's two little notches here, which this slides into. You're gonna wanna take your time here, because you don't wanna break this or this, because then you're gonna have a much bigger job than what you actually have. This second one actually came off on its own when I was taking it apart, and thank God it didn't break, because they were very fragile, but this is even easier. I'll show you when I reassemble it. All this is this little rubber gasket just goes into this notch here. You see this notch right there? So it connects there, and then the rubber gasket goes there. It looks original to me. This is a Ford part, by the way, as you can see right there. So no surprise that that these suck. By the way, I will, at the end of the video, I'll put all the screenshots from the workshop manual to replace this part, but also at the end of it, I'll put the recall letter. Now, for whatever reason is, this car did not apply. The recall did not apply to this VIN number. I called Volvo Cars North America. I went to my dealer, they looked up my VIN, and they said it does not apply. And they wanted an absolute fortune to replace this, because clearly it's a lot of labor. This part from Volvo was only like $62 for me. So I decided to do it myself. But if your VIN number applies to this recall where they replace these, then you got very lucky. If you didn't, then you have to do it yourself. By the way, the failure point here is there's a plastic little notch somewhere in this area that, so like for example, we're gonna simulate the door closing, right? So right there, it should like lock right here. There's a little latch, and the door should stay locked. Well, on this thing, when this little plastic piece fails, this actually actuator works fine. It's this little plastic piece inside that failed, and look, even if the door is technically right now latched, I shouldn't be able to undo this. And look, you see, so this thing here should latch, but it does not. So the whole problem is that inside there's a little pin, plastic pin that, see, it should latch right there, but it does not. Right there, it should stop, and there should be a click, and you see it just goes back. So it's actually kind of dangerous, and I even told the dealer, I said, it's like a safety issue, and they declined to replace it under the recall, even though there is a recall for this model year and make, which is a S60 2016. And just because the VIN number is not approved by Volvo, they don't want to replace this. So, I mean, imagine if like the door swings open all of a sudden and like somebody flies out the car if they're not wearing their seatbelt. Like that's a lawsuit for Volvo. You know what I'm saying? Like Volvo North America is gonna have a lawsuit on their hands. So if I was them, I would honor, regardless of the VIN number, I would honor these door latches to be replaced under the recall, regardless how many miles you have or what year, because if this door flies open and somebody flies out the car, it's gonna be a huge issue. You know what I'm saying, for them? Because it's literally like a part failure, and it's not out of neglect. Like there's no service intervals for these, right? There's nothing you can do to service these. They just fail because the engineering on these older locks, this little latch is defective from the factory. So here's our two latches side by side. From the factory, they ship it with this little plug that you have to pull out. And as you can see, they're identical, but the part numbers are different. So the part number supersedes. So on this one, it ends in 4141, right? Or no, 1741. 1741. And on this one, it's 9862. So it's either completely different part numbers, but the dealer found this part by VIN. So clearly, as you can see, take a screenshot right there, the old one and then the new one, and they're updated the part numbers. So I didn't get it on camera, but here's how this latch works. First, you put this cable in and attach that hook. The second thing is this cover. First, you put the cover onto this cable, and then these two teeth, see these little two teeth? They clip on. And then the third step is that little notch. Make sure this goes in there. So this has to be perfectly attached the way it is. Otherwise, this cable could actually disconnect itself at some point. Okay guys, so over here I want to show you, it'll actually snap. So first you align your little torque screw hole. I'm going to see if I have any extra Torx bolts, but so you align that and then you press that in and it'll actually like click in. You'll hear it click. So put your Torx screw in. I have to find one real quick. And then when you remove this piece from this latch will actually just go forward. So what you do is, you see how there's two teeth there? There's a tooth and a tooth. So it can only go in one way. So this cable goes in only one way. You see like this? So this little thinner part goes in between these two plastic tabs, and then you just push it and it'll actually like clip in. Now, if you can't get this in, don't force it because you will break it. Just take your finger, you push on it, push on the actual metal part, and then that way with your other hand, you're gonna be able to get that cable in, right? If you use pliers or something like that, you never wanna force anything here. So just push on one finger here and then get that other cable into that latch assembly. Here's another thing I want to show you. So when you put this back in the car, you're going to want this whole thing to be back together because it's very difficult to put this in separately from this, because there's this here, right here, this assembly, it clips in. So there's a tooth there, there's a tooth right here, and a tooth with like little slides on the bottom. Over here in the top corner, there's this little latch. You see this little latch right here? So this latch is actually what locks it in place. Do you see how it won't go any further? So right now, it's ready to be reinstalled in the car. So what you do is when you put this in, right, you're gonna put this in and like you have to like push it down and slide it that way. So you're gonna have to slide it that way, but you're gonna have to press down here with this little ear thing. And when you press down and slide it forward, it'll lock into place. Okay, so you need it to be assembled because you won't be able to do this in the when everything is like inside the door, because there's no you have no access here except from the outside for the handle. See what I'm saying? So now it's ready to be reinstalled. What I'm going to try to do is find a little bit of like silicone grease or something, and just try to lubricate here, and as well as the cable. As you can see, there's a small tear in the cable, but it should still work no problem. Make sure that everything is seated correctly, and that's it. It's ready to be installed back in the car. So yeah, see this, by the way, how this cable gets routed. It gets routed like this behind this little, this is, by the way, your little hole for that little Torx T25, and then it goes like this into here and then into here. Okay, by the way, I also want to show you guys, this is an inside view of your, like this, so the glass goes into here, right? There's only one latch on the whole regulator. So when you're looking, when they want you to line it up 110 millimeters from the top, the reason they want to do this is because you want to line up that access hole with this little tab. And on here, there's this little, you see this little, like, it's almost like an indentation. And what it is it allows you to push back like that just far enough so that you can slide the glass up. You see what I'm saying? So it's not complicated at all. It just, nobody on YouTube like actually explains how the stuff actually goes together. So I'm trying to tell you, because once you know how it works, it's a lot easier to take it apart and put it back together. Lastly, this connector, by the way, so it clips in right there. Obviously there's a little latch there, and then this connector, there's just a little push tab right there. Make sure you check your pins for any corrosion, anything like that, because a lot of times people have issues with these, like locking or unlocking. It may not be your module, because most of the time it's this module here, which is like a control panel for this lock. But also double check your little pins, because if the pins are corroded, maybe there's like water in there or something, it won't activate correctly. So I found a Torx, also a T25. This is just those screws for hardy boards, and actually work pretty nice. So it now it's held in there nice and place, nice and snug. So I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall this back in the car now. Okay, so at this point it's getting dark here. I got some lights set up. Just take some glass cleaner, and what you're gonna do is just clean around along this perimeter, as well as on the outside here. So you can clean this area and this area, because it's super easy to get to right now. So now what we're going to do is put this entire assembly, the way it is, back into the car. And by the way, here's that little tab that your little Torx T25 holds there. And I think that's it. So if I see anything interesting on reassembly, I'll take a video for you. The first thing you do, I spray a little bit of that glass cleaner on there, metal first, and then I push this connector in, and it'll actually like clip into place, you know what I mean? So just make sure that the orientation is correct. It goes in like this. So the red and blue wire on the bottom, the yellow and green on top. Okay, so wiggle it back and forth, make sure it's good, and then I'm also going to spray some glass cleaner on this area here, so that when it slides in, it's very tight here, so I want it to go in as easy as it can. Next, what you're going to want to do is this connector here, you're going to want to clip, see how there's that little clip at the bottom right there? So this connector is for your lock unlock touchless function. So you're going to want to push that connector. You're going to clip it into the back side of that little frame right here, and then it'll go in through the inside of there. As you can see, the glass cleaner on there to help it lubricate when it's going back in. Okay, so next thing what I like to do is, once this is in, there's gonna be a little tab here, and there's gonna be a tab here. Now these tabs are like a little alignment tabs. So what I like to do is just put that in, make sure it slides in. That connector is in already, it's clipped in. And then just put one of those screws back in, because what you need to do is you have to align this latch. So do you see how it's perfectly on the top and the bottom? You could see just enough so that it's lined up. This is what you're gonna wanna do, because it can't be too far low, too far down. So then you tighten these bolts up here, and then you can only go along the perimeter and put this in. Okay, so that's how I do it. Okay, so at this point, now's a really good time, by the way, before you put this on, like I said, to clean everything here. And also you can clean all of this and underneath the door. I recommend cleaning all of it because you have clear access to it. This little plastic piece is a gasket. It just pops in. So you got one tab there, push, 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 and then push, and then you'll hear it like click in. Make sure you put that in, because if you don't, you're gonna get water, rainwater, that makes its way inside your door. On this connector, when you put the connector back through the door, you're gonna wanna make sure that it goes through like the correct tab. You know what I'm saying? So in there's a little, like if you go with your finger, you can feel it. So you gotta route the wire, not from above, not from below, but from the inside perfectly. Okay, so let me show you what I was talking about, those little ears. There's 2 ears there. You can't see with the gasket, but on this side, you see that little ear right there? So that clips on right there. This clips on to the actual sheet metal of the car. So make sure that that's locked in. Then when you go to tighten these 3 bolts, you have to do them in a circular pattern, because you want this lock, there's a little gasket there, and you want this lock to be perfectly flush. So you don't want to full on torque this and then that one. You got to do a little bit at a time, all 3 of them. And then, like I said, go ahead and do all of your 7mm bolts along the perimeter. All right guys, so I'm trying to do the best I can here with the lighting, so I apologize if it's not great, but basically what you do is you carefully slide in that part, and then you're gonna slide in this part of the handle. Now you see how it's out? That's how it's supposed to be. Now what I want to show you is you take your finger right here and you're gonna press in that way, and all that will do is you'll hear like a little click, and once it clicks in, that's it, it's not going anywhere. So that's in. Now what I want to show you is when I am putting this back, it will actually, it'll pop into place. You know what I'm saying? Or it should, rather. Maybe it's the other way. So that's all the way out. Still not back. Try the other way. There you go. So do you see how it popped back in? That's because what we just did was we took tension off that spring. So now it's nice and tight in there, and it's not going anywhere. And now we can put that final plastic piece on here. Well, notice how there is, on this plastic piece, there's this hole, and this hole is actually for the screw. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get this on camera for you, but I can't really do that, huh? So notice, pay attention to the screw. Do you see it? It's hard to see, but so there's 2 teeth. See those little teeth that come out right there? That's the first part that holds it. Okay, but then on the other side, there's a screw. So now that the teeth are gonna retract, watch. See how they're retracting? So that screw holds it, and also the teeth as well. And that screw you can't really see, but it's in that side. Next, I'm gonna drop the glass down, and I'm going to lock it in place onto the window regulator little latch. And then obviously these are self-explanatory, these connectors. This guy here, it's very simple. See this little notch on the front? So it slides like in, and then you press here. When you press here, this little plastic pin thing will actually lock in with this lip, and this will lock into the latch assembly on your door panel. So just take your time on that. I did not have to touch this, by the way. This little grommet, make sure it's back in place secured. So that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think what else. That connector is in. Yeah, this is pretty much the end of the job. So once I have everything back together, what I like to do is just make sure the window goes up and down. Obviously the door lock works as it should, that whole deal. I also want to make a quick note for you guys. These little black tabs right here is what actually holds your door panel in place, and they lock into these little tabs here. So make sure that these white tabs are all back in the same spot, because this is what actually holds that to the door itself. So this one here, you can see it's in, and I don't know if you guys can see too well. It will actually clip in like this. So the front goes in first, and then that side piece goes in afterwards. So you'll hear it like click in place, and then that way you know that it's latched in how it should be. So this window, you'll see when you remove your suction device, you're gonna slowly lower it until you feel resistance. And when you feel resistance, you're gonna see that little yellow tab right there. You're gonna push a little bit harder, and then it'll just like lock into place. So you're gonna basically feel it like clip in right there, and that's when you know it's all the way in. All right guys, so just a quick test that it works. It's closed, open, closed. Should be nice and flush here. And the lock works, and the window works. So now it should be closed. That's correct. Now we're gonna unlock it, and there you go. That's it. So yeah, it's definitely not like a beginner type of thing. If you're not comfortable with this stuff, find like a local shop that specializes in Volvo. Don't go to the dealer, because the dealer will charge you like a lot of money to do this. Probably like, well, let's say 4 hours of labor, $250 an hour, so $1,000 bucks. $1,000 labor is what they should charge for this, and a local indie shop will probably do it for, you know, $500-600. So, yep. Good luck to you, and